Please stand and welcome King Carl XVI Gustaf and Queen Silvia of Sweden.
Good afternoon. Would you please remain standing while the ASI Male Chorus, Svensk Karnesdag Girls Choir, and the ASI Cloudberries sing Kungsången, and then I would ask you to join them in singing first the Swedish national anthem and the national anthem of the United States. The lyrics are on the back side of your program.
From Majesties, honored and mostly chilly guests, the board, staff, and members of the American Swedish Institute have been the guardians of an extraordinary gift, the Turnblad Mansion, and with it the legacy of preservation and celebration of Swedish culture, and a link to the people of Sweden, which this royal visit represents for us. In the same way that mansion is visible everywhere in our new facility, this legacy will never be forgotten here. But the overwhelming public response to our new Nelson Cultural Center has demonstrated to us in the most profound way that the American Swedish Institute has been dealt a new hand, and it is a game changer. Preservation of our beloved mansion and the celebration of our Nordic culture will always be at the core of who we are. But in our quieter moments, we have wondered about communicating those themes to our listless younger generation. This new modern center has captured our intergenerational imaginations. Someone commented to me when walking through, aha, so it took a building, but you have now transitioned to a new generation from which you can operate. We are seeing that in the celebration of culture as a universal need to be honored in others as in ourselves, and we are dancing to that melody. We believe that the celebration of architecture can be done in economies of a sustainable design, and we are thrilled to model it in our new Nelson Cultural Center. And then consider that the exhibition and preservation of art can be demonstrated alongside the education of our personal creative needs to make beautiful things and to sing and play the melodies that are in our hearts. And that our communities, which have included Sweden and Swedish American, can intentionally include a unique presence and passion for the West Phillips neighborhood of Minneapolis. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the new American Swedish Institute. And as chairman of your board, I cannot overstate the enthusiasm of our board in regard to what has been accomplished here by our staff, our corporate and foundation partners, and our amazing ASI members. And as a pastor myself, I might add a scriptural benediction for the American Swedish Institute from Scripture. Well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will set thee over many things. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have both the Swedish ambassador to the United States and the American ambassador to Sweden here in Minneapolis at the same time, perhaps a first. And it is now my privilege to introduce Ambassador Mark Brzezinski, Ambassador of the United States to Sweden, who was confirmed by the Senate in October of 2011 to this position, having had a distinguished career in both public service and the private sector. He has served on the National Security Council staff to the White House, and while in private legal practice, assisted U.S. companies to create economic opportunities in developing countries. He truly honors us by being here today. Would you please welcome and greet Ambassador Mark Brzezinski.
Your Majesties, Your Excellencies, Senator and Mayor, distinguished guests, it is such a pleasure for me to be with you here today. I bring you warm greetings from U.S. Embassy, Stockholm. Having been in Sweden now as U.S. Ambassador for 1 year, What I have to say is, jag är väldigt glad att vara I Sverige. Bruce, thank you very much for that introduction. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you, Bruce, and your entire team here at the American Swedish Institute on the opening of the Nelson Cultural Center. It's truly a remarkable building. I understand that it's perhaps the greenest building in Minnesota, as it's the first museum in the state to be LEED certified, which is the gold standard for classifying a building as environmentally friendly. I have to say that the wooden ceiling reminds me of the timber roof of the Stockholm City Hall, which is of course the site each year of the dinner for the Nobel Prize laureates attended by their Majesties. And that dinner, of course, is coming up in the not-too-distant future. Apart from the architecture, though, the center presents an important chapter in the nearly 375-year-old story of Swedish-American relations, a story that has been fundamental in shaping our strong ties and shared values between the United States and Sweden. Ladies and gentlemen, those shared values are real. If there is one thing I have picked up in my year as U.S. Ambassador in Sweden, is our shared conviction between our two countries and shared care about what is happening in the rest of the world and wanting to do as much as we can together to make the rest of the world a better place. It is genuine, and it's a wonderful place to build the American partnership in. And this building embodies the shared history of people-to-people exchanges, of innovation, and for the lasting partnership between our two great countries. This space provides a living, breathing example of who we are, where we've been, and where we are going. That people-to-people connection is the strongest linkage between our two countries. I can tell you that the strength and dynamism in the American-Swedish relationship can be seen in the great uptick we've seen in the last year in Stockholm of the number of very high official visits from the United States to Sweden, ranging from our Secretary of State to our Secretary of Energy to the largest delegation of United States senators in more than a decade, coming to Sweden, coming to see what's happening there. Coming to see what's happening there in terms of sustainability and innovation and great research and development. Our shared history has been one defined by creativity, collaboration, and cooperation. The contributions of Swedish-American immigrants are numerous and probably well known to many of you in this room. To name a few, it was a Swedish immigrant who designed the Monitor, the famous ironclad ship that helped the Union win a decisive battle during the Civil War. Swedish immigrants founded prestigious universities such as Augustana College, Bethel College, and Gustavus Augustus College, which of course is marking its 150th anniversary this year. And of course it was Swedish immigrants who established the American Swedish Institute, which has served as a cultural bridge for generations. This year, Americans and Swedes are joining together to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the birth of Swedish diplomat Raoul Wallenberg. As a young man, Wallenberg chose not to be indifferent. He chose to act and to not turn a blind eye, and in so doing saved tens of thousands of lives during the Holocaust. I know that ASI held an event earlier this year marking Raoul Wallenberg's legacy. Last month, I had the pleasure of welcoming a delegation of U.S. senators and representatives to Sweden, which coincidentally, was the majority of whom have Swedish blood and relatives and living in places like Östersund. But the purpose of their visit was in part to celebrate and honor the legacy of Wallenberg and the thesis of the importance of not being indifferent. And as President Obama said in a video message to the Swedish people, Wallenberg had wrapped the people he saved in the blue and yellow flag. A great legacy. The senators presented Nina Lagergren, Raoul Wallenberg's sister, with a copy of the legislation which awarded the Congressional Gold Medal to Raoul Wallenberg. And it's the ties of yesteryear that have led to a strong and vibrant bilateral relationship today. One of the strongest examples is found in our commercial ties. Trade in goods and services between the United States and Sweden is valued at an impressive $25 billion annually. Many U.S. companies are investing in Sweden, and at the same time, Sweden is the 12th, I repeat, the 12th largest investor in the United States. In fact, Swedish investment has helped create nearly 200,000 jobs in America. The United States and Sweden are also close partners in the international arena. Our two countries stand closely together to defend democracy and human rights and counter extremism and authoritarianism. Sweden was a vital partner in the NATO operations in Libya. Sweden is not a NATO member, but it joined the NATO operation in Libya and produced the best surveillance, reconnaissance imagery of Libya during that conflict that we were able to receive. It was a genuine contribution. Sweden has played a vital role in promoting peace and security in Afghanistan and Kosovo, and I will add that at the Tokyo conference in July, Sweden made an unprecedented $1.2 billion commitment to development assistance in Afghanistan. That is widely noticed. It goes without question that Sweden is one of America's closest partners. This partnership is not only active in the challenges of today, but also of tomorrow. Perhaps nowhere is this more important than with environmental issues. In the Arctic, the United States and Sweden are working together with other members of the Arctic Council to define a holistic approach to manage development in the Arctic, a region rich with resources, but with a fragile environment. Time is not on our side in the Arctic. The Swedes are the chair of the Arctic Council, the United States is a member, and working together, we can be a force for good in that strategic space. The United States and Sweden are also key partners in the Clean Energy Ministerial, an international forum to promote policies and programs that advance clean energy technology. We've created the Swedish-American Green Alliance, which is an avenue to promote collaboration in environmental challenges at local, state, and national levels. Ultimately, though, it has been for over 3 centuries, it'll be about the people-to-people connections that will guarantee a strong and dynamic partnership in the future. Those links are rich and numerous. There are some 500,000 Swedes who visit the U.S. each year, and there are roughly 15,000 Swedes who study in the United States. Likewise, tens of thousands of Americans visit Sweden each year, many of them to visit distant relatives. There are also rich academic and scientific links. Last month, I had a discussion with researchers at the prestigious Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, one of the world's premier medical research facilities, which, by the way, is now collaborating very closely with the Mayo Clinic. They spoke to me at length about their experiencing in developing innovation with U.S. counterparts. Finally, to come back where I began, there is the American Swedish Institute. You bring together the past, the present, and the future of American-Swedish relations and convene generations within these walls to connect and learn our shared story to pass on. Your activities help keep focus on the important role that Swedish Americans have played in building and advancing the American cultural mosaic, and you help keep in focus our common interests and our shared goals. I congratulate you again in opening the Nelson Center, and I wish you great success in promoting the ties between our two countries. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. 6 years ago, Amy Klobuchar became the first woman elected to represent the state of Minnesota in the United States Senate. Throughout her public service, both as a chief prosecutor in Hennepin County and now as a U.S. Senator, she has been guided by the values she learned growing up in Minnesota. It's a privilege to have her here with us today. Please welcome Senator A.B. Klobuchar.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Majesties. We are so honored to have you here today. Thank you, Ambassador. I will add my shorter Swedish phrase, "Good dag." Is that pretty good? I practiced it just as long. As you can see by my accent, I'm actually half Swiss and half Slovenian, but at least they begin with S, like all of you. It is wonderful to be here with both ambassadors, with Bruce Karstedt and Truett Lawson. Thank you so much for your leadership. We are so proud of this Swedish Institute. We are so proud to have their Majesties here, and we thank them for their grace and leadership and for being such strong partners, their country, with our state, with our country. We did plan this weather to make them feel at home. I was laughing. I asked one of the organizers inside how cold it was outside, and in a very Minnesota way, she says, "It's a lot less chilly than it was at Gustavus yesterday." Because there's a tent and there's no wind. That was the point. Well, for more than 80 years, the American Swedish Institute has stood at the epicenter of Swedish culture in Minnesota. Now with the new Nelson Center, it is doing even more to connect our state with its Swedish roots by celebrating its rich traditions of art and culture. This is truly a valuable and important resource, so thank you for everyone that made the Nelson Center a reality. You know, our state enjoys a long and enduring friendship with Sweden, rooted in our shared values and deep cultural bonds. 10% of Minnesotans identify themselves as Swedish, making us home to the largest Swedish-American population in the United States. There are actually so many Swedes in the St. Croix River Valley that people often call it the Swedish Lutheran Riviera. We also, as was noted by the ambassador, see the Swedish influence reflected in our education system with first-rate schools like Gustavus and Bethel University. We see it reflected in our government. I like this fact. Over the years, Minnesota has elected no fewer than 12 governors of Swedish heritage, including 3 named Anderson. And who can forget, maybe you have, but I haven't because I have his picture on my wall in Washington, one of my predecessors, Senator Magnus Johnson, who was born in Karlstad, Sweden, and served in the United States Senate during the 1920s. Now, he had such a strong Swedish accent that he was known affectionately by the other 99 senators as generally speaking Janssen. Really true. It's a true fact. Affectionately, I'm sure. And then finally, we have this beautiful exchange of culture in the folk music that you hear here today, in the art that is displayed that we are so proud of, in so much of our furniture and design throughout Minnesota. I was just up in Mora this week. We have many Swedish tourists come directly there to see all of the Swedish culture we have in Minnesota. We have, this is a little known fact, but the world's largest lutefisk in Minnesota. It is a 25-foot fiberglass cod in Madison, Minnesota, and its name is Lou T. Fisk. So I was thinking for display in the future in the Institute. So, Your Majesties, Minnesota is a state where we truly embrace our Scandinavian and Swedish heritage, and we celebrate the continuing friendship that we share with Sweden. It has shaped our state in countless ways over the years and is very simply part of who we are. What better way to showcase this heritage than through the exchange of art, of music, and big ideas? That is exactly what we're doing here at the Nelson Center, and I could not be happier than to be here with you today to dedicate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. When Swedish immigrants came to this region, they not only secured jobs, built homes, raised families, they also banded together to make a social and cultural investment in the community. They founded churches, schools, hospitals, colleges, fraternal support organizations, just to name a few. These pioneers understood the need to serve community and to support one another as they tended to their personal needs. They built for the future to serve the entire community, and so have we. Today, and shortly, we'll unveil a plaque as we dedicate a new Nelson Cultural Center, a rebuilt campus, and a renovated historic mansion. And even on a warm day, I get a chill when I see what has happened here. We're pleased this weekend to focus upon the theme of linking art, earth, and community. Swedish and Nordic design, craft, and the arts are expressed each day on this campus through our programs and classes, and even the aesthetic qualities of the space. Our new cultural center has sustainable features, and now we have a new front door, a public commons area, and gathering places in a transparently, brightly lit campus which opens up this institution to all, inviting them to link their community with ours in the same spirit that infused our immigrant ancestors when they first came here. Several hundred individuals, foundations, and corporations located here and in Sweden have donated more than $30 million over the course of this project since 2001 to make this day possible. Many of you gathered in this room and together with others who could not be here have made this possible. You have been a part of this journey and helped cause this great vision of ours to become a reality. And for that, I want to say, on behalf of those we serve now and in the future, thank you so very much. To paraphrase the poet Rainer Maria Rilke, let us now welcome this new campus, one that promises to be full of things that have never been. Thank you. We're now going to have a musical moment. As you know, there is an abiding and deep affection in this region, in particular for traditional Swedish folk music, and much of that is due to the work that takes place here at the American Swedish Institute by two groups, ASI's Spellemannslag and Twin Cities Nyckelharpa Lag. Please come up. And they perform locally, regionally, nationally, and in Sweden, are well recognized by their compatriot fiddlers and musicians in Sweden as perhaps the finest Spellemans group and Nyckelharpa Lag in this continent. And we are so proud and privileged to have them here, and they're going to play a number or two for us today. Please welcome the Twin Cities Nyckelharpa Lag and ASI Spellemannslag.
I'd like to say that on this special occasion, we're going to play the ASI Waltz, which was made for our Spellemannslag's 10th anniversary in 1995, by one of our fiddler friends in Sweden, the ASI Waltz.
Thank you so much. How fortunate we are that they are with us so often. The American Swedish Institute was honored to be awarded royal patronage by His Majesty the King in 2002. And over the course of nearly 30 years, their Majesties have visited Minnesota many times. In fact, I think it's 5. And we are deeply grateful for and honored by their presence here this day and this weekend, both here and at Gustavus Adolphus College, our partner as well here on this campus, celebrating its sesquicentennial year. And their presence here is deeply meaningful to us all, and we're privileged to hear from His Majesty at this time. So would you please join me in welcoming His Majesty, the King of Sweden.
Your Majesty, Mr. Ambassadors, Senator, Directors, members of the staff of the American Swedish Institute, ladies and gentlemen, and dear friends of Sweden. The Queen and I are very glad for the invitation to the new Nelson Culture Center at the American Swedish Institute. As we heard, we have visited Minnesota many times. On every occasion, I would say, we have visited the museum and the culture center and recognized its great importance for Sweden and Swedish America. The founder of the Institute, Svan Törnblad, was a Swedish immigrant, as we all know, and his success led to the place where we are today. But encouraged by my grandfather, the Crown Prince Gustaf Adolf, he established an American Swedish Institute in 1929. And imagine that was 83 years ago. And of course, much has changed in the world and in our society since that time. Change must be embraced and cause us to act in ways that benefit our communities and improve society. So I am happy to see the American Swedish Institute is, so to say, keeping up with the times. The center has an important role as a link between our past and our future, and between the people in our two countries. Today, we are here to honor the new Culture Center. It is inspired by, well, the best of Swedish design and filled with remarkable textile art that honors Swedish crafts. And at the moment, it is filled with a wonderful and exceptional exhibition from Helena Härmark, and you ought to go and see it. We are impressed by your hard work to encourage young people to fulfill traditions. The new generation is physically linked with the Törnblad home. I applaud you for your effort to involve all people of different ages and backgrounds into your work. It is vital for your future and will help you build an even stronger institution. You have accomplished a great achievement in making the Nelson Center, Culture Center, an eco-friendly green building. 40 years ago, in 1972, I attended the first major United Nations conference on the human environment. It was held in Stockholm and was the starting point for international environmental discussions. And, today Sweden is a leader in showing new ways of caring for our world and at the same time promoting economic growth and social good. I know this is a memorable day, so finally I would like to thank everyone who has made this event possible. You have all worked hard, I believe. So let us hope for an inspiring day for each of you and a good future for this institute. Good luck and thank you.
Thank you, Your Majesty, for those inspiring and encouraging words. At this point, we would like to unveil the image of a plaque, which I have here, that will be installed at the front entrance of the Nelson Cultural Center. Campaigns are interesting journeys which possess an ebb and flow, especially one over a multi-year period of time, as ours has been. But each successful effort needs a starting gift, a gift to catapult it forward. And that's what Carl and Leslie Nelson did a number of years ago when they made a major gift to this effort. Leslie is standing to my right, next to our board chair, Trua Lawson. It is for the late Carl Nelson and Leslie Nelson for whom the Nelson Cultural Center is named. Carl was on our board at the time. He made, as I said, the first major gift which propelled the campaign forward. Leslie continues to be very active here, serving on the board, an active volunteer. She even sits at the front desk of the museum welcoming visitors, and as always, sometimes has an interesting moment when a person comes up to her and asks, "Who's this Nelson?" Yeah. And she's very, very, kind and talks about her husband Carl. But I'm really threatening to get her a name badge that has ASI volunteer Leslie Nelson and then, yes, that Nelson. Save her a lot of embarrassment. Carl, coincidentally, was a graduate of Gustavus Adolphus College. And it seems quite poetic to think that his major gift also enabled the construction of, in part, the new urban home of Gustavus Adolphus College here, with whom we're going to establish a very vibrant partnership in serving our communities. So we have as I said, a blown-up image of this plaque. Rather than ask you all to move over there and come back, and so we're going to unveil this, and you may do so now as I read that this is now the Carl and Leslie Nelson Cultural Center of the American Swedish Institute, dedicated in the presence of their Majesties King Carl XVI Gustaf and Queen Silvia of Sweden, Saturday, 6th of October, 2012. And now, one last part of the program. Yet another gift to their Majesties, which we're going to display up here. And stepping forward right now is artist Lori Jacoby and Chuck Moody, owner of the Faribault Woolen Mill, who will display what they have created at our suggestion, and which they will share with you now, which is a new limited edition blanket that commemorates the visit of their Majesties to Minnesota. Lori's inspiration for the blanket design comes from motifs found in the workshop of beloved painter Carl Larsson. And this blanket, you should continue to hold it open for a while. I'm describing it, for goodness sakes. Oh. I didn't give you the cue yet. This blanket has really a very fresh contemporary design that celebrates the Institute with the stylized images reminiscent of folk traditions of carving and other craft. It was woven by the Faribault Woolen Mill, a Minnesota company founded in 1865, and now owned by the Moody family, represented here by Chuck Moody, who are descendants of Swedish immigrants. And we're so pleased to see this, and thank you so much. Yep. Thank you, Your Majesties, ambassadors, guests, friends, for being here today. This now concludes the ceremony, although you were invited to stay on the grounds and visit the American Swedish Institute, both the Nelson Center and the Turnblad Mansion. We're open until 5 for your conversation, enjoyment, food, and the exhibitions. But at this point, I'd ask you to please rise and remain in place as their Majesties leave the platform and our grounds. And when you do, would you please show them your appreciation for them being here today?